Once upon a time, there was a boy named Antar who was strong and clever and dreamed of becoming a noble warrior knight. But he was a slave and only looked down upon. Get your head out of the clouds. Who's ever heard of a slave becoming a noble warrior knight? But Antar still hoped. One morning at the water well, a prince's servant pushed his way forward and knocked down an old widow. The others laughed. But Antar helped the old woman up, then turned on the prince's servant. You shouldn't push someone down just because they're weaker than you. The servant sneered. Why should you care? She's no mother to you. You're a slave and you'll never be one of them. He shoved Antar. Antar shoved the servant back and he fell in the mud. Now the others were laughing at him. Antar was dragged before the king. This wicked slave raised a hand against the prince's servant. But the king was amused. This boy has shown bravery beyond his years. Destiny may show in him yet. The king gave Antar a new job, bringing fresh milk into the royal women's tents. There he saw the beautiful princess, Abla, and fell deeply in love. He knew that he would marry her one day. The others just laughed. Stop daydreaming. Who's ever heard of a princess marrying a slave? But Antar didn't listen. He let Abla's name fall on his tongue like a pearl, and from his lips poetry grew. Day after day, year after year, Antar would bring Abla milk in the morning and sing of her sweetness all night. Finally, even those who once laughed were moved by his songs. One evening, Abla heard a voice, rich and rare as a black pearl, singing outside her tent. Pulling back the curtain, there she saw Antar, no longer a boy now, but a handsome youth. She was so moved by his words that she called him over. Who wrote that song? I did, replied Antar. And who is it you sing for? One look from Antar told her everything. Abla's heart melted and the love between them grew. But when Abla's father, Prince Malik, heard his daughter was in love with a slave, "Nah, not today. This ends tonight." Malik sent his men to the fields where Antar tended his herds. But when they got there, a ferocious lion appeared. Right, leave the lad to the lion. Fate is speaking and I listen when she speaks. Malik's men ran away, terrified. But fate shone bright for Antar that night, and one of them dropped his spear. What luck, thought Antar, as he saw the lion peering through the grass with a vicious snarl. But Antar wasn't afraid. When the lion roared, he roared back and speared the beast. The next day, Antar went to the king and proudly presented the lion's skin. He'd hoped that the king would finally take him into battle and accept him as one of his warriors. But Prince Malik would never let him have the chance. My guard had a spear just like that one taken last night. My king, this slave grows too bold. First, a spear against the lion. What next? A sword against one of us? Only the king's warriors may carry arms. Slaves are only good for milking camels and sheep. Cursed by Malik's words, Antar was forbidden from ever raising a weapon again. Antar was heartbroken. How could he ever become a warrior now and marry his beloved Abla? He began to lose hope. To make matters worse, Prince Malik announced that Abla was to marry a rich prince from another tribe. The groom had promised Malik a handsome price for his daughter, but he was full of deceit and had no intention of honoring it. Why pay for a bride when you can steal the same one for free? As soon as the king and his warriors left for battle, the wicked groom sent his men to capture Abla. With no one else to turn to, Prince Malik begged for Antar's help. But Antar had one condition: his freedom and Abla's hand in marriage. The prince had no choice but to agree. Armored now with sword and spear, Antar leaped onto a mighty black stallion and went charging down the plain, swift as the wind. When Abla's captors saw the angry cloud of dust rising before them, they shook with fear. With the courage of 1,000 men and Abla's name in his heart, Antar, the great warrior knight, struck valiantly and defeated them all. As Antar carried his beloved Abla back home in triumph, his name as a great warrior spread. Abla was overjoyed. Love had prevailed and they would finally marry. But Prince Malik still remained cold and demanded one final task from Antar. 1,000 red camels, a gift for the bride. Red camels were only found in Persia and belonged only to kings. But Antar never lost hope and set out at once. But when Antar got to Persia, thieves stole his horse and armor as he slept. The next morning, in a trick of fate, he was mistaken for a thief himself and taken prisoner before the king. "Who are you, and what are you doing in my land?" said the king. "I am Antar, a warrior knight. I came to offer you my services," replied Antar. "I've heard of Antar the warrior, but you, with no horse and no sword, look more like a common thief to me. How can I be sure you're who you say?" Just then, a minister burst in. "My lord, the lioness strikes again. The whole palace is stricken with fear. Even our bravest warriors cannot tame such a beast. You have to do something, Your Majesty, please." Antar saw his chance. "Your Majesty, let me battle the lion for you." The king shook his head. No, you know not what you say. This lioness cannot be defeated. No weapon may be raised against it, and no meat sates its hunger. She is like a curse upon me and the kingdom. Your Majesty, please, give me a chance to prove to you who I really am." The king thought for a moment and then smiled. "All right, send him to the beast. But mark my words, if you fail to tame this lioness, your head will roll in the end." Antar raced to the palace gardens, ready for battle. He heard plates crashing and voices crying in terror. But when he got there, instead of a lioness, he found only the queen, who had earned her name by her terrible roar. "You call this wine? Pigs wouldn't drink this. Who dared pour this in my cup? I'll have his head. Can nothing here ever please me? Someone bring me a poet and make it quick." "Your Majesty," trembled an attendant, "no poets dare come anymore. Perhaps if you didn't always behead them." "What did you say?" shouted the queen, about to smash another plate in rage. Antar humbly approached. "Your Majesty, perhaps I could be of service." "And who are you?" said the queen. "I am Antar, a warrior knight, and I have been sent by the king to entertain Your Majesty. For I am also a poet." "A poet?" said the queen. "Who's ever heard of a warrior who was a poet? Send this brute away. Your Majesty, please, give me a chance to speak. Afterwards, if I have said even one false word, my head is yours." All right," said the queen. "Let him speak. But get the executioner ready." Taking this chance fate gave him, Antar let the poetry fall from his lips. He told her stories of wild beasts and marauding soldiers, wicked princes and ruthless thieves. He told her how battling scorn, hate, prejudice and envy, he found the love of a beautiful princess. But still, no one believed a slave like him could ever become a warrior knight. And neither would he have, if not for poetry. For a poet must always battle to find beauty and possibility where others see none. What then is a poet, if not the most courageous of warriors? When Antar was done, the attendants all sighed, and the queen looked upon Antar as if fate itself had spoken. So moved was she by his words that at last she set down her plates and let go of her roar. The king, grateful for Antar's brave deed, named him a great warrior poet and sent him home a rich and noble man with 1,000 red camels at his side. No one, not even Prince Malik, could deny him now. Antar and Abla finally married and dwelt happily many years in the land of kings and heroes, where their names still fall like pearls on the tongues of poets to this day.